How did you get to New York City?
Like how or why? Like
Let's do both.
I actually knew I wanted to move to New York City when I was in 6th grade. That's when I decided. I think my first play, I was in 5th grade, and then I wanted to be an actor. And I remember being in 5th grade on the stage, and I was like, I'm going to be an actor. And then like the next year, I was like, I'm moving to New York. And so that just like really, that was like my through line through my whole life. And then I like moved out of my house when I was 18 and came to New York. Got into an acting school, and did that for 2 years. And now I'm a street rat and I haven't left 18 years later.
What was the dream or the goal when you first got here? What did you want to do?
I mean, I always loved comedy, but like, I just thought like it was impossible. So I was like, oh, I'll just be a comedic actor. And like, I love Steve Martin and David Spade and Chris Farley. And I was just like, okay, I'll just be an actor who's like funny. And that was the goal. I also liked to sing. I thought for a second, like maybe I could do musical comedy, but like, I just had stage fright, like singing, and I just like could never do it. And like, I remember like I was auditioning for Emerson College, and like even Emerson was like, yeah, we're not going to take you for singing, but you're a really good actor, so you can come to our acting program. I was just like, oh, okay. Like everyone's like, no, the singing is not for you. So I had to let that dream go. Like I was like, oh, I want to be a Broadway star, but I had to accept that that's not going to happen.
When you got done with school, did you hit the ground running trying to become a comedic actress? Was that the mission?
Oh my God. I kept getting cast as like 16 and pregnant and just like really dramatic roles. And I think I'm a great actress because I could cry on command, and I can do really emotional things. I also had like a really chaotic childhood, so I like was fleeing from my house too, so it was easy to tap into my trauma. And but yeah, I wasn't doing funny roles. I was just I honestly was like 16 and pregnant for like 7 roles. And like I did like a religious movie of like abortion, can you, can't you, like thing. And then there was and that's when I was like, I can't be typecast. And then I kind of got sick of like auditioning. And I was just like, I mean, in retrospect, I just like think about myself. I'm like, oh my God, I was so young, but I didn't have like a support system, and I didn't have like somebody encouraging me to keep going. So it was like, I think I was 25 and I was just like, oh, this is just brutal. I don't think I can like survive this. I don't think I can like financially survive this, like do all this. And so I went back to school and for graphic design. And then I fell in love with design, and then was just like, you know what? Paying bills on time is really fun. Having money is great. So then I focused on my design career for a bit.
What was the most brutal part? You said financially, but like, what do you remember? What was so brutal about those years in your early to mid 20s?
Like, I mean, I didn't have financial support like whatsoever. So like, I literally was like here 18, no money, had to figure out, like I had 3 jobs. I had 3 jobs for a long time. And then, like my acting school, like only housed you for 1. I like took out loans and stuff, but for the first year. And then the second year I had to get an apartment, and it was like at 19, my rent was like $900. And I was like, oh my God, how the fuck am I going to make $900? And yeah, this girl, like my friend's roommate, she was like talking about, it was like very or just like, she's like, oh my God, guess how much money I made this weekend? I'm like, what? She's like, $900. I was like, what? I'm working there. So then that's like how I got into like the restaurant industry, is like, it was just so weird for that to happen. And then, but yeah, I was just like, I was just like constantly working. Like I worked like 3 jobs. Like I remember like having a like 22-hour day work days sometimes, where I would like pass out flyers on the street like before acting school from like 6 to 8 a.m.
Wow.
And then I would do my like classes, and then it'd be done at like 4. And then I would do like there was this like I worked at like retail for a little bit too, and then I would do like my night gig and then like serving gigs. It was like a different type of grind. And then yeah, I think if I had like some guidance or like somebody being like, this is what you should do, this is what you shouldn't do, or like when you get money, don't party. So yeah, it was easy to just like have fun too because you're like working so hard.
Do you vividly remember reaching a breaking point where you literally collapsed and were like, I can't do this anymore?
Like acting?
Yeah.
Or
just that lifestyle?
No, I did it for a really long time. Just like mentally, it wasn't like a full mental break to like anything. Like I couldn't do that. I'm just like resourceful and I'm a hustler. So I like my mind is like, okay, how can I like make this happen? Like, okay, what's the next step? Like, how can I, I was just like seeing the trajectory I was on. And like at 24, 25, I was like, if I keep doing this, I'm going to wake up. I just remember being 24. I'm like, I just don't want to wake up 28 and be like so broke and like be bartending again and like being like, oh, I have an audition because I'm working so hard. Like in my early 20s, I always did play the long game. And I was like constantly thinking about how it would feel if I was like 28, 30 or like, so at 24, I was just like, I just know, I don't know, maybe I didn't bet on myself enough, but I also just like had this feeling where it's just like, I know myself and I see what I'm doing and I see how hard, like I just have to work all the time to like pay rent and, pay my bills, that like it was hard to audition. And so I just like knew that I'm like, I need to get off this ride a little bit and I need to find another way to make money and another way to like be creative. So then I went back to school because I was like, well, maybe I'll be a screenwriter and then like I can like make my own path that way, because I was tired of like auditioning for like under 5 like lines, you just like so then I was like, oh, okay, I'm going to be a screenwriter and I'll write my own film and TV and then I'll get in that way. And then the fucking liberal arts, like the first year, oh God, that sucked. And then I had a art teacher who was like, you have a really good design eye. Like I've always been artistic, even as a kid. Like, I was always like painting and drawing as a little kid. So he's like, you should be a designer. And so I switched. And then that kind of like changed the trajectory of my life. And then I was like, oh, wait, design is also amazing. And like, it's creative. And I just kind of went 100% in. Yeah.
What is the move from being in design, being in graphic design to comedy? How did that happen?
Yeah. I mean, then it's like, I gave up this like performer life. I gave up my acting life. And that was like at 25, like being like, I'm a failure. This is like, I just quit. I did that. So like I've mentally and like emotionally had to go get through that like mountain.
Accepting it.
Yeah. Which is really brutal. And then I got success in design and I got a job at the NBC and was at the Today Show. And I was like, okay, well maybe like I can get on camera here. Like maybe, it's always in the back of my mind. Like it was a dream that it was always like there. And then I was like designing at NBC. I was making graphics for the Today Show. Actually, I started at MSNBC. I actually started as an assistant. I started as an assistant and then my boss, who was there for like 11 years, got fired 3 months after I started and I was working for him. He was insane. I actually want to write a book about it. Like it was crazy. I don't know. One day. I didn't sign an NDA or anything. So I want to talk about the craziness of NBC. It was like nuts. He was like a manic depressive and was like drinking during the day. And like, I was like, oh my God, my first corporate job. This is like amazing, to this like 45-year-old man like coming in and crying on my lap and like being like, get me alcohol. And I'm like, oh, I wasn't expecting this. Like, this is different here. Wait, what was the question? Now I'm like rambling.
How did you get from design into comedy?
Oh, right. So I'm taking the long way mentally, but And then at one point they sent to like an all email, like a all company email of like looking for on camera like people. And so I auditioned to do that. And I was like the top 5, the last 5 people. And it was really funny. I remember being in this audition and like talking to the girls beforehand. And like someone was like a host on Telemundo. Someone was like a host on MSNBC. Someone did segments. And they're like, and what do you do? I'm like, oh, I'm in the graphics department. Like I didn't have any experience. But it was like a nice like encouragement that like the person casting was like, you're really good at this. Like a lot of people want to do this and they can't, but you have something. And I was like, okay. So that was like a little encouragement to keep going. And then my friend I worked with signed me up for an open mic, got me back into it a little bit. But it wasn't until just like probably like 5 years after that I just got to a point where I was living a life so far removed from like what felt true to me that I was like, oh, I'm an art director in advertising. And also I had to like become this like serious version of myself. I had to keep showing up like really serious, and I'm an expert in what I'm talking about. And I felt like I had to constantly prove like how smart I am, what I'm expert. And like, I just like was forming this different personality of like, I'm not silly anymore. I'm not goofy. Like that's just like who I am. And this one guy called me not fun, or just like questioned if I was funny. And that was honestly a huge turning point. Like I was like, wait, I don't want to live this life anymore. Like this is just not who I am. And I was like, I want to be, and I was like 30, whatever at that point. No, I was like 33, and I've already done it. Like I've already quit acting. I've already tried to do corporate. I've already bartended. I've already lived all the lives, and I still wanted to perform, and I still wanted to act, and I still wanted to do comedy. That I was like, okay, I know what it feels like to quit, to do all this stuff, to try it. And I'm like, I'm not going to live this life anymore. And I signed up for a class like that later that night when he questioned whether I was funny, and I was like, I'm a fucking comedian. But then I was like, I wasn't. It was a really hard thing for me to look at myself and be like, you're not a comedian. You work in corporate.
You're becoming like everyone else. Yeah.
Like it's not your life at all, actually. Like you actually can't call yourself a comedian. You've never done a comedy show. And, but yeah, I think that led me to just sign up. And when I had my first show, it was just, I'm like, yep, this is it. And I've been like 100% in like ever since. Tell me about the first show. What happened? I mean, it was scary as fuck. There was 80 people there. It was at the Black Fat Pussycat. The lounge or the bar? The lounge. It was a good crowd too. Like now that I know what a good crowd is, like, you know, as soon as I said my first line and like everybody laughed, and it was like, oh shit, okay, I got this. Like that first laugh is so crucial. And I think I did like 6 minutes, and I did everything I wanted to do, and I felt really good. And it was like very much a sink or swim, you know, like walking up to that stage, you're like, oh, this could go terribly wrong. This could go, and like I had friends in the crowd, but I think that's just like one of those things. Like you either fucking like double down and you're like, I got this, or you let it like fuck you up, and then you just blank. And so I don't know. It was enough for me to be like, oh, I can do this. Like that's just like how I felt. I was like, oh, I can do this. After the show was over, what did you do to try to move the ball forward with your career? What was the strategy? Well, luckily, my teacher had, she had a great relationship with Broadway Comedy Club and like the booker there. So, and I don't think she does this with every class because I'm not really sure. So we already had a second show like on the book. She's like, you'll have your showcase at Fat Black, and then you'll have one at Broadway Comedy like 2 weeks later. So like between those 2 weeks, I was just doing open mics. Brutal. Some of the worst open mics ever. Like I remember doing one with Julie at Producers Club, and there was like 4, like, I think they were homeless. It was just like me and like 3 homeless dudes. It was crazy. It was actually, they were just like talking about killing women and putting in their trunk. It was like nuts. And I was like, oh, this is the life I chose. This is crazy. But then I did Broadway Comedy Club, and that my second show was 200 people.
Wow.
And I did pretty well. Like I look back at the tape and I'm like, okay, this is not like, but I was confident and I was really comfortable on stage. And I think that's like the one comment I still get. People are just like surprised how confident or how comfortable I am on stage. And then he reviews your tape, and I got like 2 more shows from that. So like I already had this momentum of like my first time doing it. I had 4 shows, and then I just kept like asking around of like, okay, then like how do you get more shows and how do you book more shows? And then I did the Industry Room at Broadway again, and then I got 4 more shows from that, and then I met people from that who booked me on other shows, and it's just been my whole thing is like just keep the momentum going. And yeah, I think my first year I had 76 shows and like 40 open mics or something.
At that time, had you quit your job? Were you 100% in at that point, or what's the chronology there?
No, I'm still like full-time working. Well, actually, no, I started comedy, and then 3 months later I got laid off from my job. And then I was like, oh God. But my boyfriend at the time, like he like financially supported me, and he was amazing. And he's like, you should do comedy. And like, I don't think you should like rush to get a job. So like for 8 months, I mean, I was still working here and there and getting free. I was freelancing. I started to freelance design and do that. But I was able to focus on comedy. Really, it's just like being able to sleep in. Like that's what you need if you're like doing late nights, and it's like exhausting. So now I'm just rapidly aging because I have to wake up early and stay up late.
The experience for you of being up on stage, you said that people have remarked how confident you appear to be. Internally, is that your experience as well, or how are you generally feeling, especially at first, up on stage?
The first few times I was so confident. I was like, I got this. Like I just believed in myself, and just like it's like a 30+ year like I've wanted to do this, and I finally get to do this, and I'm fucking doing it, and I'm funny, and I know I'm funny, and I can fucking like, and then then it went downhill, and then and then it was very quickly like I remember having like dreams of like freezing on stage and like, oh my God, what if I forget everything I'm going to say? And then I remember starting to get like crippling anxiety where like I would think about getting on stage and I would like start to like have an anxiety attack, and I'm like, oh no. And I remember just like talking to my therapist. I'm like, I just went from like being so confident to now I'm having anxiety of like thinking about getting on stage. And like I remember doing some open mics and being so, oh my God, riddled with anxiety that I was standing and I kind of fell because my body was like terribly trembling. It was so intense. And I just, honestly, he actually gave me some practical advice of like, your body can go through a terrible time, but like mentally you have to say, my body is having a physical reaction, but like I'm okay. And then I do like physical, like sometimes I'll like tense my entire body up just to like, and then release it and do that, where I'm like I have like a mental physical game of myself where I'm just like, okay, your body's having a reaction to anxiety, and like I have to physically like work it out. But now year and a half, I mean, like 2 years will be October. I don't have crippling anxiety anymore. Sometimes I still get nervous, but not as much. Sometimes it'll be like a little pit in your stomach where you're like, oh my God, I'm a little nervous, but that doesn't happen very often. Now I'm like, fuck, what's my set? What am I about to say? What am I like? It's more, I have anxiety about other stuff of like, oh, this new joke I want to do, but I'm like always excited to get on stage.
What's your process like for writing? I don't know if you're extremely habitual in the habits you have for creativity, but how do you go about writing and creating the work that you show on stage?
Yeah, I mean, that's still a process. Like I'm figuring it out. Like I think starting comedy in a writing class, like that's what the process I was trying to start with. It was just like, okay, I sit down and I write my jokes, but then I've learned, because I copyright in advertising, that my writing voice and my speaking voice is like very different. So to me, it's like, how do I bridge those two where I'm doing a little bit of both now? Like I have a premise and I write it out, or I'll like talk it out. I used to like talk it out in a voice recorder, but now I'll just like go to a mic. And now I kind of just do it on stage. Like at a show, I will ramble and let myself talk and do whatever. And, you know, because I think it's really like, it's like a whole mental game where I've had this like, okay, comedy is like me writing jokes. And, but a lot of like who I am and what I like about comedy is just like me off the cuff, like talking shit or saying whatever. And that is like, I can't like write that, sit down and write. Like, so I'm trying to do a bit of both. Like I write and then I also write on stage. And then I listen back to recordings and I listen back and I watch back my tapes. And sometimes I'll be like, oh, okay, here's like a better punchline. And now I will work with another comedian to like help me if I'm stuck. Like I'll have a whole premise and I write it out and then I work it out on stage and I try different lines, try different tags. And then I go to my like comedian, wonderful Kathy Ladman to like be like, okay, help me. We're like, and then we kind of talk it out and we'll laugh and I'll figure out some more ways to go about it.
Are there themes you like to talk about? I don't know. I mean, I'm sure your comedy is kind of all over the place, but in general,
why is it all over the place?
Are there subjects that you keep coming back to that you think are ripe for comedy or that you just enjoy talking about?
I talk about my life. Like I talk about my feelings and I talk about what's going on, my relationship. I'm going through a breakup. I'm talking about that on stage openly. I actually do like, I feel like the ethos of like my comedy is like telling the truth about my life. Like that kind of like centers me, where I'm like, that's like my purpose is to tell the truth about my life. And so that's, what I write about me.
Is it a form of therapy? Do you think of it that way?
Yeah, it is. It's cathartic and it's I personally like need it to feel good. Like because I already know what it feels like to like have a job and not be creative and not have a performance like aspect in my life, and I become rigid and this like different and depressed. Like I'm depressed in other ways, but it's like I feel like myself. Like I feel like I'm more authentic when because I'm doing comedy and like I know I'm just like, oh, I'm supposed to do this. Like this is what feels good. And
Why do you think it is that certain people like yourself have the impulse and the ability to speak openly about their personal life in front of a bunch of strangers? That is not a common human experience typically. And I'm wondering if you thought about that.
Yeah, I think a mental illness. Yeah. I think he has to be peppered with mental illness a bit to want to do that. Yeah.
Anything else, or it's just that simple?
Why you want to do it? I don't know. I really don't know. Like, why do I want to go on stage and tell a bunch of random people? I have no idea. But I love it. Like, I do feel like I connect with the audience. And I think that's another thing people say, like, you connect with the audience so well. I do love to talk to people. And, but it is therapy of where, like, I need to work out my feelings and what I'm going through in my life. And my whole life I've like made jokes about the way I deal with things, I deal with emotions by joking about it. So I don't know why we're crazy. I don't know. I think you're genetically born with it.
Who are your favorite comedians in this city? Or who are at least some of the greats in your mind that you've interacted with, that you've seen?
Oh, well, I can say my favorite comedian. I mean, Sam Morril. I love Sam Morril. Sarah Tolomac.
Yeah.
Love her. We talked about it. We've talked about a lot of comics. I love Neil Brennan. I like older comic. I love David Spade. I love Ali Wong. I love Sarah Silverman. Those are probably my faves. I wish I had a list of people. I'm sure there's more. But yeah, I think Sam Morril is like one of my favorites.
Yeah. How about your favorite venues? I know you've done a lot of shows at this point. Where do you like to perform?
The Stand is awesome. I think like as like if you want to bring people to a show and you want them to like you walk in, it's a beautiful bar.
Yeah.
They have great cocktails. They have good food. The upstairs is like a little less good, but so like downstairs that is probably like my favorite venue of the whole experience for like a consumer or somebody else. Like I'm thinking about, I get embarrassed sometimes to invite people to shows where I'm just like, oh, do you want to come see me in this piece of shit basement with like with maybe half the lineup being terrible, like it's, but I need to be so like stop being so harsh on it because even like my friends that do come will be like, it was still fun. Like it's an experience that I'm embarrassed about, but other people seem to like, but the Stand, I love the Comedy Shop. I'm there a lot now, so I've like come to like be like that's my home turf type. I feel comfortable there. I mean the Cellar. I performed in showcases there, but one day, be a regular. But I love to watch shows at the Cellar. Yeah, I think the Stand is my favorite.
What makes a great comedian in your mind? The ones that you love or that the people that you watch that, like Sam, or people that you just think are amazing at this? I don't know if there are common threads you notice in them, but
yeah, that's a good question.
What are the qualities that help to make someone great at this?
Just like, there's just like a level of like owning who you are and just like knowing who you are that I find so appealing. And I think all of us are kind of always trying to figure it out. Like, what the fuck is going on? What are we doing? But like when you're on stage, like you're self-assured of like what I'm saying and who, like my opinion on things. And so I think there's like a level of that. And then there's a level of writing that is really impressive, of like joke writing. It's really hard to write a joke. It's really fucking like I struggle. Like there's this like I personally deal with like heart where I'm like I've always been funny my whole life and like I've always made people laugh, but I'm never like, oh, how did I make somebody laugh? Yeah. So then when you're doing a whole set and like I'm like, oh, I have to write jokes and like obviously different audiences are different. Like I can easily make somebody laugh if they have like a sense of similar like humor to me, but another person isn't going to find it funny. But if I have a well-written joke and it's that unexpected like punchline that generally like can work with everybody. Yeah, I think it's writing, being authentic, and having a sense of joy to it too. I like comics who just like look like they enjoy what they're doing instead of like I'm fucking miserable.
You can tell they love it.
Yeah. You have to love it.
If we were to talk in 2 years, where do you want your career to go? I mean, this is
bro.
similar.
You couldn't even book me. I'm gonna be so out there. No, I'm just kidding.
How do you think about success for yourself? Like I like to ask guests this, but like for you, and maybe it's what you already are experiencing where you have a job and you can support yourself, but I know you're working your ass off.
Yeah.
Like what?
You will be able to book me in 2 years. That was a joke. You took that really seriously.
What does that look like? What are you aiming for?
I do have a goal. Okay. So October will be my 2 years in comedy. And my whole thing is like, I've been in New York for 18 years. I've had friends who are actors, comics, Broadway people, and I've seen them literally, get so much success like 12 years in, 13 years in, like so many people. So either way, you just can't cheat time. but that's like my whole thing of like, how do I cheat time? How do I make my 10-year journey into 5 and ultimately like 3? And my immediate goal is like, I would just like love to be Just for Laughs, like new faces, like 3 to 5 years in. That's like my immediate goal. So and I'm just like, okay, how do I get there? It's like getting on stage as much as I can, getting a great 5-minute set to getting a great 10-minute set. And then just constantly, that's the goal of like, how do you get an undeniable 10-minute set in 3 years? That's my goal.
I know you got to go pretty soon. So I want to ask you
Oh my God, it's already time.
Pretty close. I would love to get your advice that you would have for young comics or people who are just starting out. If you had a friend who wanted to become a professional comedian, what have you learned in the couple years you've been doing this intensely that matters in terms of how to really give yourself a shot and position yourself to do it?
You really need a support system. Like you're either going to do it or you're not going to do it. The comedy, like it's so brutal. It's such a hard thing to do, but nobody's going to tell. Like if someone says you shouldn't do it and then you don't do it, then it's like, okay. But if someone says don't do it and you're like, no, I have to do it. You have to do it. You have to, there's a level of like, you feel like you have to do it.
Yeah.
That's there. But on top of that, you need a support system. You need somebody who, or a couple of people, or just at least one person who you can confide in, because it's so brutal. The beginning, like those open mics, and like you'll be like, what the fuck am I doing? This mic was crazy. This mic is terrible. Like people love to say like open mics is where comedy goes to die. It's such a grind that you need somebody on your side and helping you be like, no, keep going, because you can't do it alone. You can't.
It sounds like the network has really helped you. I mean, from what you were mentioning earlier about how like one thing led to another and meeting people led to more gigs.
Yeah. But, and that happened like because I'm in my 30s, and I know that like that's what was the biggest detriment to me in like in my 20s, and why I like quit and why I didn't get to where I was, because I did think I can do it on my own. Oh, I don't need anybody. Like I mean, I wasn't close to my family and I was here by myself, and so I already had this like hard shell of like I can do it on my own, I can do it. But you actually really can't. Like you need a support system. You need people around you, and you need, it's just so much more enjoyable. Like that's like the journey of like you and your friends are out here hustling and grinding and like just talk war stories afterwards and like, you know, and you keep going. And but yeah, you need people. You can't do it alone.
Is part of that getting better at asking for and offering help to other people?
Yeah. I didn't know how to do that in my 20s. I didn't know how to tell people I was like struggling. I didn't know how to, I like had a big facade. Like I was always okay, but I like wasn't. And I was like emotionally struggling and kept it to myself. And so now I'm more open. And that I would say the biggest thing of like, just try to, like if you're struggling, and I feel like if you want to do comedy, you're probably depressed too. So start telling people, hey, I'm not feeling well today, just to let you know. Like, and someone will listen. Like, yeah. It's like it's like a secret too. Like, you know, if you're like harboring this, like, oh, I'm feeling really terrible. I'm feeling really terrible. And you don't tell anybody, you're like giving it more power over your life. And so kind of you release that power when you're like, you know what, I'm like struggling today. Like I'm actually doing really bad. I'm like, you know, it becomes less of this like big entity in your life. And, and that's how you relate to people, you know? You
name it and release it. And it sounds like you do that on stage.
Yeah, I actually crash out on stage all the time now. And it's like very cathartic. Maybe I'm going through a phase right now of emotionally freaking out, but I do it with a smile. And so I think nobody thinks to call like 911 or anything and like get me immediate help or institutionalize me. They're like, oh, at least she's smiling, so she's not actually gonna fill in the blank. I don't know. No, it's fine. It's fun. I am having fun up there.
Thanks so much for doing this.
This is so short. Okay.
Thank you.
Thanks.